Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're seeing people join in right now, so we're going to give it about 30 seconds to a minute and get going. All right, we're going to get started now. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I want to start with thanking you all for taking time out of your busy day to be with us. We know how busy your schedules are and the demand that you have on them, and spending even this half an hour or so with us, we really appreciate that time. My name is John Lane, and I'm going to be the host for today's session. I've been in the business over 25 years now, working with customers from small doctor's office to large hospital chains, as well as international companies and some of the largest enterprise companies in the country. Here with me is Larry Grant. Larry's our Director of Sales Engineering and Professional Services. Larry's got a wealth of experience working with our customers. He's in charge of our pre-sales groups, professional services, training. He's got a lot of experience from starting in technical support through his current role working with customers, and not only becoming an expert on our product, but an expert on the workflows that our customers use. Our focus is on digital transformation these days, especially for the regulated industries, as a lot of our customers are sitting in those regulated industries. Today's webinar will cover the web fax client. It's the beginning of a new approach, a change in our approach, where it allows us to offer new features that help you address problems that keep you up at night. No one really can deny that cloud has changed how we communicate, from the personal level, especially with social media, to business with fax, email, and secure file transfer. And frankly, it's changed it for the better. It allows us to communicate faster and quicker, saving time and money. While early adopters flocked to the cloud right away, the pragmatic and risk averse, they took their time. They're looking for security. What is being done to help keep their data and their environment secure? Is that vendor meeting our compliance needs, whether it's HIPAA, PCI, or another regulation? Control. I want control when it goes to the cloud, personally, of my data, where it is, how long it's stored, and who has access to it. And they're looking for a true path to digital transformation. It's one of the things we see with our customers all the time that are using fax. They want to take it and go to a more direct digital format that takes seconds rather than minutes to deliver. While that's the case, we see a lot of customers using fax for many years into the future, but we've done some integration with our secure file transfer platform that you'll be able to see from Larry today. Looking at the attendee list, I see a lot of customers out there, some that Larry and I have gone out and seen together, and we have long-standing relationships, some that we haven't met yet, and it would be great to meet them over time. We have some prospects out there. Welcome aboard, and we want to help you understand what we do and listen to you and understand what your needs are, and some of our great partners. You guys are all representing everything from healthcare to financial services, government, and technology, and many more industries. So let's get to the kind of disclaimers before we start. A lot of questions were submitted ahead of time. We appreciate that. If you didn't get a chance or you have a new question that pops up during the session, go ahead and use the Q&A function to submit those questions. We love answering them. And if for some reason we don't have the time to finish answering them, don't worry. Someone will reach out and get you those answers over the next couple days. If you have any difficulties, technical difficulties during the session, Mary Skuse is here with us. Go ahead and reach out to her on the chat. She's our expert and she's going to keep this webinar up and running. She can answer and help you with any of those problems. Now, the true disclaimer here, the demos Larry's going to show, they're not everything we do. They're not every feature or function that we have. They're a representation of some of the newer stuff that we're coming up with and some of the highlights that Larry's found over time that customers are really interested in seeing. And this will apply to you whether you're an on-prem customer moving to the cloud, partially in the cloud, fully in the cloud, whatever it is, all different versions. A lot of these features will apply to you. So before we get started, let's take a look at a quick poll, do a quick poll question. Curious what the state of everybody's use of Cloud Fax today, and see where they are. There it is. Thank you, Mary. If you go ahead and answer the question, we'll give everybody about 30 seconds. We have customers, Larry, you and I both run into them, that are using only on-prem, only cloud, a mix of both, moving from one to the other, and all around. And we're happy to work with any customers in any kind of format or direction that your company dictates. Okay, we'll give just another about 5-10 seconds to answer this. This is just kind of an informational thing up front for everyone. So let's go ahead and close the poll. And we'll take a quick look at the results before we hand you off to Larry. Looks like we've got a lot of people that haven't moved to the cloud at all yet. Some that love it, get that. Some that are just okay with it. Interesting, some that have it but not a fan of it. Be interested to talk to you about why. And some that haven't done it. So it's kind of a good mix of what we have as customers. Larry, would you agree? Larry, not to pick on you, but it's the age old. You got to unmute yourself.
Sorry.
At the time of the pandemic here, that always happens.
I do agree with you, John. It was interesting to see how many people have not moved to the cloud.
Yes, it is. Yes, and hopefully we're providing some information that might make them feel comfortable doing that today. Larry, I'm going to hand it off to you now.
Okay. So today I'm going to be focusing on showing you our new web client. I'm going to be going overview of the web client, most of its features, and then there's a few key features I want to focus on. The advanced search functionality, the ability to do annotations and signatures, as well as the history and audit trail available. So the web client, new web clients based upon our new REST API, which is now available if you want to do any API integrations. It can do Active Directory single sign-on. I'm logging into my system. When I log in, I'm logging into a specific role.
So Larry, let me interrupt you for one quick second. I apologize. I like to do this all the time. Let's talk about that single sign-on for a second. Right, I know talking to some of the customers I have, right, the single sign-on, that authentication piece is so much valued by them, right? From a user setup and termination perspective, they leave the company. You don't have to go to a separate client and either create a user or delete them when everything's all said and done. And it's less for that user to remember, right? I know we still have users, and I've been guilty of in the past of, the old yellow sticky note putting a username and password on it, right? This wipes that away, right?
Absolutely. What it also does is helps you stay compliant with any security regulations like HIPAA, for instance.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. And it's also much easier to onboard any new employees. You just add them to an Active Directory security group, and you're automatically adding them into your workflow to send and receive faxes. All right, so what I'm looking here at is I logged into a specific role. I'm logged into the administrator role. Administrator role will see every single inbox, every single sent or received fax for all users within the workflow. Your average user, though, is only going to have access to their specific faxes or their specific workflow. So in this case, we've created a folder, an inbox, or a visiting nurses agency. And underneath that, I've created some separate subfolders with some faxes in it. Now the inbox here is where all the received faxes are going to come in. We're routing based upon fax number to the inbox. In here, I can see all my received faxes. We'll capture a caller ID, the received date and time, number of pages, whether or not received okay. But in addition to that, we'll also capture some custom note fields that we created for our workflow. In this case, patient name, medical record number, date of birth. Over here on the right, you can actually see these custom note fields are accessible. You can go to details, and details is all the metadata about the received fax, such as what fax number came into, the caller ID, date and time, even the unique job ID we assigned it. And then you can also see your images, the actual fax pages. I can even scroll through them if I wanted to. In addition, we give you two options. One, I could do a quick view, and I could see whatever page I currently have selected. Or what I can do is a full view, and full view brings up the fax in an editable mode. So I can come over to the patient name, put in a name here, John Lane, medical record number 4567, and date of birth of 303. Nice thing here is we can actually do formatting. So as soon as I hit save, it's going to throw an error. There's formatting that you can force on users in order to enter the data. So in this case, I need to have the correct format in order to enter the date of birth. Also within the full view is the ability to do annotations on the fax. So I can come up here, choose edit annotations, and some of my options available are I can add some text. So I can put a note right on the file itself. And as soon as I hit save, everyone has access to this inbox, and only this inbox will see my annotation. As of right now, it's in edit mode. Only I can see it. So as soon as I hit save, this shared inbox, everyone can now see my annotation.
That's something, Larry, customers have been looking for, right? Being able to bring that annotation editing capability to the web client, so you don't have to have an extra piece of software on your desktop to edit like you have to do with the desktop client.
Absolutely. So in addition to the text, you can also just draw some freehand if you want to point something out. You also have the ability to put a stamp file. The reason why you'd want to do a stamp is because you may want to add a signature. So if you have a signature file, you could sign your document this way.
Excellent.
And that's a very powerful tool. That's been a big ask for many of our customers, the ability to sign a received fax.
Yeah, so if maybe they get a form, a doctor get a form, they had to sign off and fill it out. They don't have to print it out anymore. They have to go to the printer and scan it back, sign it and scan it back in. They can do it all live now.
Yep.
You know, I wish they kind of had that for PDFs that time. How many agreements and stuff I got on a PDF, and I've got to print it out and sign it. This would make my life so much better.
Yep. So I'm just going to hit save again. And then in addition to just these types of annotations, you can do other things in the screen. You can just send it to a printer and print the fax image. You can download it. You also can forward it to someone else within the Faxcom solution. I can mark it as unread. I can move it to a different folder. I can copy it.
Hey, Larry, could I highlight areas or block areas out on this fax with annotations?
Highlight? Absolutely. Of course, I probably should choose a different color, but yes, you certainly can do it. As an example. All right, so I'm back to one of my received faxes. You can see all these custom note fields that we've created, as well as the standard fields. We also have the ability here to do filtering or searching. For instance, I can come up here and do a filter, and I can show filters, and I'm going to shrink down my screen a little bit. So now I can see the patient name, John Lane, and it immediately finds his fax. What if you have more than one person entered in there? So I have 2 Jane Does. It's going to find both Jane Does, and then I can come in here and put in the medical record number I'm looking for, and it finds that one fax that I'm interested in.
That's pretty powerful for our healthcare customers to be able to, Well, in all customers, frankly, being able to not just filter or sort on one column, but multiple columns all at the same time will save them a lot of time.
Yeah.
That kind of advanced search feature we've been talking about.
In addition, another nice feature in here is the ability to see a history. We have a full history.
Hey,
on
Larry,
every
before
single
you
fax.
do history, what about columns? Right, I know I've gotten questions from customers on columns, and do I have to keep the same columns? Can I change them?
You can add, remove columns. You can change the order of your columns through this tool, or you can even just drag and drop the columns themselves and change the view from here. You can also change what you're sorting on as well. So right now I'm sorting based on receive date. I could be sorting on, say, patient name, for instance.
So we have a lot of customers with different workflows, right? That even within their own company, they have different workflows.
Yep.
This would help them, customize what they need to see on the screen.
It certainly would. Let me just change my sort again.
So it looks like you're limited to sorting on only one column.
Sorting, yes. I could filter on multiple columns, however. See, it's just one. So on any received fax, you also do get a full audit trail, full history. So I just choose history. And in here, I could see every user's Active Directory credentials, date and time. Ferris Bueller at 2:12 yesterday, read the fax, put an annotation on the fax, routed the received fax over to a different user, and anything we do in here, printers, sending it to printers, putting in annotations for medical record number, date of birth, routing it to someone via email. A copy of that, a record of that information is stored within the history of each fax job. And all that gets stored right within the SQL database.
So you'll be able to see a complete audit trail.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is excellent, especially for our HIPAA and healthcare customers.
Now, some of these inboxes also do get quite large. So you do have the ability to do some searching. The searching is kind of an advanced search. It allows you to search upon any of the information in the screen, such as a medical record number or any value that has the value in it. I could search my current mailbox. I could search all mailboxes. All mailboxes, it means any mailbox I have access to. It's not searching mailboxes I don't have access to.
Nice.
I could put in date ranges if I need to. I do a search, and it's going to find every fax in here that has 1, 2, 3, 4 in it. In this case, 2 files. I just come up here, clear my search, and I'm back to my regular view.
Do you want to show the custom search functionality, Larry? I think that's what I was referring to earlier before you hit into under the filter section there.
So within the view, we have the ability to do filters, as I mentioned earlier.
And then also the custom sort under that same menu.
So we can sort based upon any of the values in here, sort based upon any information we find, such as patient name, medical record number, date of birth.
Excellent.
All this information is searchable, filterable, sortable, however you want to phrase it.
So I'm noticing a couple questions pop in.
Yep.
Right, as we're talking here, that we can probably address because you're right in that client right now. The audit trail, right? That's there forever on that fax, right?
That's correct. It's a full audit trail for as long as you want to keep the data within the SQL database.
When it came to the annotations, right, you can redact as well as highlight?
Redact, you can, in a sense, highlight, but with a dark color, and that would cover the text you want to redact.
And kind of the final question that popped in just on this part
Mhm.
is the column names, right? When it comes to those note fields, they're customizable, right?
Utterly and completely. For
Excellent.
this particular workflow we're demonstrating, these are custom note fields that we've created. Patient name, medical record number, date of birth. It could be literally anything you want in here.
Excellent. I promise I won't interrupt another 100 times, Larry.
All right, as long as it's under 100. One other item I really want to show is our compose features, our compose functionality. Since a client doesn't just receive faxes, it's also going to give you the ability to send. So under compose, we have the ability to browse phone books. Each user can have their own private phone book. If they're a member of a department, like visiting nurses, there might be a department phone book for just that group. Then you can also have a public phone book, access to anyone in that workflow. So they can share phone books and resources or contacts across the entire workflow. Now, when I send a fax, I could pull someone right out of the phone book, any of them, or I can add a new recipient in here. And I can type in a fax number. And then I can even add it to one of my phone books if I wanted to. Now, anything you put in a subject line or a memo field shows up on the cover page. Over here on the right, under cover pages, if you have more than one cover page, you can actually choose that right from here. The whole idea from this view is so that the users can see which cover page they're choosing and choose the right cover page. And obviously, they can do no cover page as well. So from here, you can upload files just by choosing one, and it automatically gets added. We also have drag and drop. So you can drag whatever files you want into this view, and they'll get faxed out as well. Hit send, and off it goes. Now, I also have an option to do a template. Template allows me to save a set of recipients. So if I come to my contacts, if this is a fax I send out multiple times or at least once a week with some sort of status, I can address my fax, have it ready to go, and what I can now do is just do a save as. And this will allow me every week to go into my status and into my compose feature, choose a template from there, and I don't have to go out and worry about addressing this fax. At this point, all I'm doing is uploading their particular file that I want to send out every week and hit send, and off it goes.
That's pretty.
This is good if you want to send out a lot of standardized forms, if you're expecting a certain response. If you send a cover page and someone has to respond to that fax by selecting certain checkboxes on that cover page, that sort of thing. I know a lot of doctors' offices do that as well. In addition to sending a fax, you also have an option to.
I'm going to interrupt you right there, Larry, for a second.
Sure.
I'm going to ask Mary to throw up our next poll question. And while she's doing that, I want to remind everybody that, and I see questions coming in as I reference, and that's great, but feel free to continue asking them. I'm getting a ton of them coming in here. So the question here is, this leads into what Larry's going to talk about, which is our integration with our own secure file transfer, whether it's our on-prem product or our transit product. Just looking to see who in the audience has either a managed or a secure file transfer solution out there. We have some customers that have already started to leverage these types of features. I know you worked at least a couple, I should say, not just one, a couple in the healthcare industry. Want to talk about that a little bit while we're giving people a chance to answer the poll?
Sure. The request to tie fax into our secure file delivery product came from multiple customers. They were having issues with users essentially faxing out an entire patient's medical record. An example that comes to mind was a 2,400 page fax that was sent out by a user, sent successfully, I might add. And that literally took all day for that fax to go. So if that was some sort of emergency or some sort of sense of urgency behind that medical record, they'd be waiting many, many hours for that fax to go through, assuming it completed successfully.
If you think of somebody who's older, a patient who's older, maybe had a little bit complicated healthcare industry, that could be not only just 2,400 pages, but tens of thousands of pages, their complete medical record. Or a young patient, right, that had some complications, transplants or something like that. And you're right, time is of the essence. It's not just saving money, which is important, but getting that document there in, what would you say, seconds rather than hours?
Yeah, no, it is such a saver, time saver. In addition to that, there seems sometimes there's just some people who cannot receive a fax for whatever reason. So your tool might be, your application might generate an outbound document via fax. This gives you an alternative to sending it to them via fax. You can send it to them through a secure file delivery. So what this will do is upload the attachments to our secure file transfer product, and an email will be sent out to whatever email address you specify. And that user has to select the email, log in, and download the fax. A nice aspect to that is that fact that you do get a full audit trail. You will see when that user accesses a fax and downloads that. You don't normally see that with fax. You are assuming that the fax went to the appropriate destination, but there's no guarantee that a user went and picked up the fax off the fax machine.
Yes, that's right. And it's in secure file transfer. I know someone was asking, what is that, just to make sure we understand. It's an electronic means of securely, sending a document. In our case, it's, sending an email that gives you a link back to a system that you can download it from after you authenticate to. So it's a secure way of sending really any document. It doesn't have to be a Word, a PDF. It could be, for that matter, executable. So we do it with our software downloads for our on-prem customers. They get it all through our secure file transfer solution. And
in
we're
addition,
able to track what's going on.
Yeah, in addition, you could send giant files like MRIs. You could send color images. You could send high resolution documents through this tool.
That's important through healthcare. And there's APIs and stuff available, but we don't dive too much more into that. A reminder, and Mary's corrected me, make sure you put the questions, if you can, into the QA function. If you've already thrown them in the chat, don't worry about it, we're grabbing them, but I made the mistake and told you to put it in the wrong spot. So that's something she'll give me a hard time about afterwards.
So within the web client, if you tied your fax queue into one of our secure file transfer products, you can come into Compose, and instead of a fax number, you put an email address like I have here, and then you choose digital fax, not fax, add to recipient, and you want to choose the right cover page. So I'm using a secure mail cover page. This way, the subject line and message body get put into the secure file delivery, including typos. There we go. And I can again upload whatever files I want to upload. Size is irrelevant. You can send multi-gigabyte files. I think the largest file we transferred was something like 100 gigabytes. And at this point, all I have to do is hit send, and it will be delivered. What I can now do is just come into our transit tool where it is going to be uploaded to. And I can see the file in here. And here's the file that was just delivered, 2:29 p.m. And here's my attachment. I could just download my attachment. And again, you will have a full audit trail with this solution.
Excellent. Thanks, Larry. So let's, I think we're about ready to move on to the Q&A, Larry.
Sure.
So we've gotten a bunch of questions ahead of time, a bunch that came in while we were on here, which is awesome. Just once again, apologize ahead of time if we don't get to every question, but we will answer it afterwards. So keep on throwing them in there, even if it seems like we have plenty. Put them in there so that we can get back to you on them. So let's start off with some of the ones that were sent in ahead of time and move on and mix in some of the other ones. How will the new platform interface with our current in-house Biscom platform And what would the upgrade transition look like? Larry, can you give us a little background on that?
Sure. The new web client will work with our mailbox server product. It does not work with our legacy queue, so you will need the mailbox server. And it will work with your existing solution. It's a new web client. It will replace your old one. And the transition is smooth. You can actually have both the old and new web clients in place at the same time while you're transitioning to the new one.
Okay, so the next question is, will this application work completely? Will this application live in the cloud completely, and we just access it from a web page using our SSO? So currently we do single sign-on with our on-prem and our enterprise cloud stuff. The complete cloud stuff, that is coming as a feature. This web client will be in the cloud-only stuff coming this month. And that single sign-on is on the list to be done in the near future. Another question for you, Larry, cloud faxing with Office 365 integration.
Yeah, no, of course we support Office 365. We are a certified Microsoft Gold partner. We do stay up with all the latest releases. We support Server 2019, SQL 2019, Office 365. You can enable Office 365 to send faxes via fax to email. And of course, we support any documents created in Word, Excel, PowerPoint for Office 365.
Excellent. How about this question's on transition the on-premise servers to using AWS Cloud with the on-premise servers. Tell us a little bit about that.
All right. We do have customers that have set up both their fax servers and Faxcom suite within AWS or Azure. That's all still part of their network. It's a VM provided by AWS or Azure, and they work. They work fine. We did get the SIP connectivity of the fax server to work. Sometimes it takes a little finagling, but we can get it to work in AWS or Azure.
So the next question is the solution HIPAA PHI compliant? Will Biscom enter into a BAA if required? So the answer is yes. We've done BAAs for many of our cloud customers. Just send them over to your account manager or our customer success team. We just review them, make sure there's everything looks good, and typically there's nothing wrong with the BAAs that are being sent over. We'll sign them and get it back to you. An interesting thing, and when it goes to the compliance side, we've built compliance and the ability to achieve compliance into the system, right? But the technology is just part of it, especially when it comes to things like fax. It's the audit trail, as well as it's the users that you got to also make sure you worry about, right? And keep an eye on. Make sure that they're sending to the right phone numbers and not sharing the fax when they're forwarding it to the wrong people, keeping it into the right departments. A lot of times that's one of the biggest challenges. So let's take a look at another question. If transitioning from on-prem to the cloud, do you get to keep your current fax numbers? Is this person, it's kind of a two-part question. And then the second part is integration with Outlook desktop client and or plugin. So I'll take the first part. The answer is yes. You can port when you move into our cloud. You can port your numbers, whether it's toll-free or local numbers, to us. We have a great porting department that will help you out and work with it. And before Larry gets to remind me about it, you still own the numbers. He likes to remind me every time. You still own those fax numbers. So you port them in. If you want to bring them back out because you're not using that fax number anymore, or you want to bring it to an in-house solution, something like that, that's very possible. More than happy to allow you to do that. It's kind of reverse of what you did to bring them in. You want to take the second part about Outlook, Larry?
Sure. We do support Outlook integration. We do have an add-in for Outlook. It's not required in order to send or receive faxes, but it does give you some additional features like a printer driver. So of course, we do have a client for Outlook.
So when it comes to storage, there's a question, kind of a couple questions, going to merge them together from a couple of different people. When it comes to this new web client, can the faxes, the root of it is, can the faxes be encrypted at rest?
Yes. Within this environment, we are doing data at rest encryption.
Excellent. And the customers using it on-prem could do the same thing, I assume?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, there's a question on inbound barcode routing. Is that possible?
If we receive the fax and that fax has been OCR'd, we absolutely can do. I apologize. That's a misstatement. It does not have to be OCR'd in order to do barcode reading and routing. Yes, we can.
Can employees share phone books entries with each other?
They can share them in the sense that they have departmental inboxes or departmental phone books, but it's not like they can actually share their individual phone book with someone.
So another question here, are there differences between using web client for the cloud versus on-prem solution? So I know the part of the answer is, of course, the enterprise versus the on-prem are very much the same. Actually, I'll answer the whole question, right? The pure cloud stuff, we're adding features as we go along here. So if there's a feature not there, don't worry about it. It'll be there soon enough. I think you answered this, but let's ask it anyways. How long is historical fax data retained? Is it customizable for different internal lines of business?
Yes, you have total control over how long you keep your fax data.
Is the annotation feature only for enterprise clients?
Annotation will be available with our Fax Coming to Our Office product as well as our enterprise solution.
Okay. There you go. I'm gonna save you on this one, Larry. Is there a capability for OCR?
Yes.
And when you open up the document, you can search on that page for the items right in the browser.
As long as it's text, we're not going to read handwriting.
How can incoming faxes be routed to different mailboxes?
It's usually based upon fax number that it was received into. That is the most effective and efficient way of routing received faxes. We technically can do routing based upon caller ID or TSID, and we can also do routing based upon information we find on the fax. The OCR text is sometimes questionable, and therefore that routing method is less efficient, less effective.
Can you set up departmental mailboxes, kind of that shared folders and assign members? Of course, I think I just answered the question.
That's what I was actually demonstrating with the visiting nurse agency inbox.
Do you want to show that right now? Do you still have that up?
Yeah. Multiple people can access the same inbox.
Excellent. The user you're logged in is Ferris Bueller.
Yep, I'm logged in as a particular user. That user has been given access to, usually through AD security group membership, to the VNA mailbox. And any members of this AD security group would also get access to the VNA mailbox.
And of course, Ferris Bueller is one of the best movies of all time.
Yep.
For anybody who hasn't seen that reference. How do we handle our existing DID numbers? Do we maintain any in-house pieces? The answer is kind of similar to the porting answer, but you port them over to us. You don't have to maintain them in-house. Some customers have forwarded them over. We find porting is a lot more reliable and frankly less expensive on your part, because if you're forwarding, there's going to be a cost to send that call over. Whereas if you port them, they're in our system. We handle them for you. You want them back at some point in the future, you can have them back. Let's see. Of course, coming from one of the customers, I won't mention his name, that we know well, you and I, Larry. A copy of the webinar will be sent out afterwards and available for everybody. That question just popped in. Got time for a few more here. How does licensing work per user or whole site? It's going to differ based on the platform. The cloud stuff is, there's a basic fee, but most of it's on a per page basis, right? On-prem is going to be more of a per port type of basis, is the way we sell it. We have sales reps who will be more than happy to talk to you about it. No pressure, just to even walk through it with you and let you know how we license it. There's another question. Where is the cloud located? At this time, it is currently all within the United States border. So we have multiple data centers that we're using around the country. and they are all US-based data centers. And if we, in the future, do move to do anything that's external. Now, if we do anything that's external, we would be able to keep data isolated. So if you're a US customer, we'd keep it in the US. If you were in Canada, we'd keep it in Canada, that kind of stuff. But that doesn't exclude you from sending and receiving faxes internationally, right? So you can still send out faxes overseas and you can still receive them from overseas. So let's talk, there's a few more questions. And as I said, we've got a whole bunch coming in. We'll probably need to get back to a bunch of them. Cost savings over on-premise Biscom fax solutions. There's a couple different variations here. We do have a calculator that we're in the late stages of finishing up that'll be sent out, I believe, with the recorded webinar presentation that you'll be able to use. And that's going to give you some of the basics. But go ahead and give us a call. Our account managers can help you look at all aspects. Sometimes there's costs that you don't think about and you don't realize that you want to include in your computation, that putting it in an online calculator would be almost impossible for you to be able to use it when it was all done. So we've kept it basic online to give you a good idea of where things are. And let's see, one final question. Let's pick one out here. Okay, we'll hit this one because this is one of the ones that come in ahead of time. Is the cost still per page of faxes? And when it comes to the cloud, the answer is yes. It's the basic cost is per page for faxes, and that's how we charge it. It's the simplest, easiest way to do it for everyone. And I'm just going to double check. Yep. And one more question. Is there a price list on your site for the cloud faxing, like a minimum commitment? So there's no price list on the webpage for you, but there's also no minimum commitment at this time, right? So you can do month to month, which is the basic fee, and pay us a kind of a list price. But if you do want to buy a block pages or you do want to do a commitment, you can do that, and that will help save you a lot of money over time by doing it that way. And usually we're going to have you do what most telecoms do, which is 80% when it comes to commitment, or 90%, what you think you can make. And then we'll always allow you to renegotiate to commit more to us, right? We'll never stop you from sending more or doing more with us. So with that, I'm going to end it for today. So we've gone past the time that we expected at doing it, but we're going to get all these questions and answers, I should say answers out to anybody who didn't get it answered. We'll promise to get that out soon to you. To kind of sign off, I want to once again thank you for being here with us today. We appreciate all the time you spent, all the questions that were fantastic. They're fun to answer. And just remember, Biscom is a market leader and technology innovator for secure communications. We're experts in traditional fax, cloud fax, as well as secure file transfer. Once again, thank you for attending and have a great day.
Thank you.